Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, I got a new little drone here to test out today. This is the DJI D60. This is one of these little, rather inexpensive toy grade drones. This is sold on Amazon, and this ought to be a pretty fun little flyer. Usually the little drones like this are quite fun, and that's why I do choose to review them, because not everybody can afford to go out and buy a really high-end expensive GPS drone and spend $1,000. You can get something like this, which I believe it should be well under $100 for this drone. And it does have a little bit of a unique feature here. It has a motorized camera. You guys can hear the little servo sound in there. I move it. Hopefully you can hear that. And that's not really common on these low-cost drones like that. So you can take off, fly up, and point the camera down and back up to take photos or video, and then you don't have to worry about landing it and then repositioning the camera. So I'm just gonna go over the features here real quick in the field. We're not gonna mess with the table review on this drone since it's not like, you know, feature-rich GPS drone, which will require that. So we'll just get that done here. And if you don't want to see this, just skip ahead into the flight review, which we'll get to in just a moment. This shoots 720p at 25 frames per second, or it can take 1080p quality photo stills. It doesn't have GPS, does not have optical flow position hold. So it's gonna drift on you. There's no position hold. It's just brushed motors on this. And as you can see, it uses a foldable MAVIC Mini, MAVIC style foldable drone on this guy. So you can fold it all up and then transport it quite easily. And it's very lightweight. It's around 160 grams in that neighborhood, somewhere in that. And it's so you don't have to worry about any kind of registration in the United States or anywhere with this guy. As you can see, no optical flow or nothing on this. And there's no micro SD card slot. So you are just recording your video over the Wi-Fi feed back to your phone. Comes with one battery here, and this is a 1S LiPo 3.8 volt, a 1900 milliamp. And it uses a USB-C connection to charge it, and it has little lights built in here, so it'll turn off when it's charged. So any USB-C cable will work on this. They do give you a small USB-C cable in the packaging, along with some extra props and your Phillips screwdriver, which they always include with this. Looks like it's got a light here in the front, and looks like the power button here is in the rear, and those look like those will light up. When I get them turned on, we'll see exactly what color those LEDs are. And let me grab the controller here, and I'll show you guys here the controller. Let me set the drone down, because it's got this nice little insert connected to it that shows us all the controls. So you've got in the upper left-hand corner, you've got your speed switch, and up on top here. So a short press on that will take you through 3 speeds: low, medium, and high. Or beginner, intermediate, and advanced, however you want to label it. And then if you do a long press, it'll do a circle fly. That's going to do those, sometimes I call it loops, but loops are really head over, you know, like a somersault. The circles, it'll fly around. And that's how you do that. Here on this button right here, down below the top button, is your short press for your headless mode if you want to fly in that mode. I don't ever demonstrate that because you don't learn how to fly correctly, so I don't like to push that mode. But if you're a beginner and you're really having trouble, headless mode takes away your orientation. So if you turn the drone around and you're facing the wrong direction, the controls will still be the same, and it does make it easier to fly, but it does not teach you how to fly. And then a long press will calibrate the gyro. That will set the gyro to level. If the drone tilts or tends to drift and it's not windy, that means that the gyro is not calibrated to level. You have your left stick here with your pitch and your roll, and this is altitude hold. So it will keep its altitude relatively, you know, good, and you don't have to worry about, you know, the throttle positioning at all whenever you're flying. It makes it pretty easy. On your upper right here bumper, you've got your photo video. Short press is going to take a photo. Long press will start up recording in the app on your phone. In the app, I'll just mention that since I brought it up, the app is called, let me get out of the glare here, it's called the DJI FPV app. I'll put a screenshot up here from the Play Store. You have to connect to the Wi-Fi in your phone, and then once you do that, you'll open the app and then the Wi-Fi feed should come up. And if you record, you're just recording that same stream that's within the app. So I'm gonna record that. I'm not gonna screen record the app. I'm just gonna record the video feed. And hopefully that all saves to the gallery on your phone. And I see up here on this one, it's just your power button to turn it on. And behind the photo button, you have this dial. Now this little switch over here on the left side does not do anything. But on this one, you have a dial on the right side. And this is to tilt the camera. So we'll definitely try that out, because that's obviously the biggest selling point, in my opinion, of this drone, is the fact that you can tilt that camera. And then down here, you've got your high speed rotation and your trimmer. So if you short press this, it's gonna do the yaw spin. I call it sometimes crazy yaw. Usually when it does, it spins on the yaw axis. Typically these drones that have this high speed rotation, it will spin quicker than if you just manually yawed it. Though sometimes it'll just be the same, but it's just an auto yaw feature. And then a long press will enter in the trimming mode. It'll probably beep, and then you can trim it. Usually you need to give it, like, some drones will need some pitch and some roll trim or something like that to actually trim it up. And then on the right side, you got your one key takeoff. Now, to unlock the props, both sticks down and in, they'll unlock and start spinning, and then you'll press that button and it'll take off. All right, guys, that covers all the stuff there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just bind it with the controller, which means just turn it on. You do it up, down, and it'll probably beep, and then get it connected to the Wi-Fi on my phone, and then we'll take it up here and test it out and see how it flies. It's a very calm day, so it should be a perfect day to fly this drone, so I'll be right back. Okay, guys, we're all connected. You can see that has a white LED in the front, and it looks like the power button actually may have a bit of a red tint. It's very hard to see. If I get it in the shade of my hand, I can see a very small red. But don't rely on these lights for orientation, because on a little 1S LiPo, they're gonna be rather dim. So we'll get it down to the ground here, and we'll do the gyro calibration. I think whenever I was talking to you guys a while ago, I got mixed up and I said, you know, pitch roll over here. I mean, obviously this is your throttle, your yaw, this is your pitch, and then your roll here. I may have said it reversed, and don't want you guys to think I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to that stuff. I've been flying for 6 years. I should know what's what. So let's go ahead and do the gyro calibration on that, and that was long press on this, wasn't it? And that should be, let me just double check on the sheet and make sure that I didn't get mixed up. And yeah, it is a calibrate the gyro, so that should have been it, and that's why it beeps. So we are good to go. So let's start recording some video. And let me get into the shade so I can make sure on my phone here that I am actually recording. And we have a blinking symbol, it looks like. Yeah, there we go, we're blinking. It's so hard to see in the glare. Let's go ahead and unlock the props. There we go. And let's do an auto takeoff. Oh, that was weird. That was odd. Let me land it again. That was strange. I unlocked the props and it just took off. Let me see if it will take off by just pressing the auto takeoff. No, so I unlocked the props, didn't give it, there we go. That was odd. Before I pressed the auto takeoff, it just took off. So this is in the lowest rate. You guys can see very little pitch here. And my phone, I just want to make sure we have a good feed, and it looks like we do. I'm going to turn up the brightness all the way up on my phone to make sure I can see, and now I can see better. The phone gets very hot, and I don't want the phone to overheat and turn off, but it will do that when you have this brightness all the way up. And it's a warm fall day. It's around 80 degrees. So let's go ahead and try the motorized camera. Let's bring it, make sure it goes all the way up, because it was tilted down a little by default. You'll hear it initialize when you first start up the drone. Let's make sure we get it, let's see which way the dial has to go to turn it up. I am just in the lowest rate, so it's struggling. There we go, and now it's all the way up. So you can see it's very little pitch, so it's going to not fight wind well. And there's the yaw. Let's go to the middle rate. Yaw looks, let's see if we go higher, if it gets faster. The yaw looks like it may increase a little bit, yeah, but it's not a ton. But there's the highest rate. You guys can see it's much sportier. And these altitude hold drones, when there's a bunch of pitch, they kind of tend to dive bomb on you, and they might lose altitude because the pitch is so aggressive. We have a nice good Wi-Fi feed. We got 2 minutes of video. Again, it's 720p at 25 frames per second, which is not bad. Yeah, it flies really good. It's exactly what I expected. These little drones like this, they've been building these drones for quite a few years, whether it be DRC, Holy Stone, their parent company, or any of the other brands. Eachine, these almost always fly good unless they have some weird, problem that's usually related to the Wi-Fi or the app or something. Usually the drones fly great. So let's just turn that around here and do the tilt down, and then we'll test out those other features. Let's tilt down the camera. There we are. Tilt it back up a little bit. Now it's drifting away. There is a bit of a breeze. So let's bring it over here. Let's tilt it down. It's a pretty quick tilt. So you guys can see I'm trying to get myself in it, and it's just, it's flying right past me in terms of the, there we go. But yeah, the tilt works fine. As you guys can see, look at that. It goes up, down. It's pretty quick tilt, but it's not herky-jerky. Look at that. When I go down, a lot of these would have a real jerky looking motion. Some of that's just the frame rate of the Wi-Fi FPV, and it's also just sort of the way the motorized brushed little motorized motor works. This one's much smoother. I like that. It's going to make it look much nicer if you're tilting while filming. Though of course this is not stabilized, so the video is going to be bouncy, but I don't see any like obvious jello wobble, what looks like you're filming through a bowl of jello. That used to be a real common problem in the earlier days. The cameras have improved in the drones where that's not nearly as common now. It was just, that used to be a deal breaker. Jello wobble was just, oh my God, was that bad. I can deal with shakes, but jello wobble, no thanks. All right, let's see if we can tilt this up a little bit. I'm gonna tilt it down just a hair. So whenever you're flying aggressively, you're going to film the ground a lot when you're tilted down. So let's actually go all the way up. That way when we do fly forward like that, we're not worried about filming as much of the ground. Let's try those auto features, the auto yaw and all that stuff. So here, this one here I believe is the auto yaw. And there it spins. Yeah, that is pretty quick. Then if you just give it a stick input, it should cancel it, and it does. And what was that other, the circle me mode? It was the speed fly. This should just be a long press on that top switch. It's not labeled on the controller. So let's do that circle one. That's gonna be a long press on this top one. And there, that's doing more like a funnels is what that is, see? Let me slide over here, you guys a little closer so you guys can see. Let's see how long this flies. I want to get this tested now, this stuff, because this battery, it may not fly that long. There it goes. If you want to do that manually, you can easily do it, especially if you're in the highest rate where you have the most pitch. You can do that. I'll show you guys how to do that. You just give it some full pitch and yaw like this. You can do that yourself, but it may not be quite as good as the auto one. It also depends if there's some wind there. So let's see how you can do that yourself. But it's a little sloppier there, and it's drifting away a little faster. See that auto yaw again. Yeah, that's pretty quick. Because you can also test that out just by giving it yaw yourself. Let's see, in the highest rate, how fast was the yaw if I do it myself. Get it over here, because the wind is blowing from right to left. So let's get off to the right. And that's the fastest yaw. You can see that's not as fast as the auto yaw, which was like spinning like a top. Yeah, this flies really good. Let's bring it over here and do an auto landing and see how well that does. Yeah, just as you expected. Now if I do auto takeoff, see, I don't think it's gonna do anything. So we have to unlock the props, then you give it auto takeoff, or you can just give it throttle. Nice FPV feed. It's not, the app hasn't frozen and then goofy like you see. And this is running the newest version of Android on my Pixel. And sometimes you'll run into app stability issues with new versions. But so far so good. We are almost 7.5 minutes in on the flight. Now I don't do any range tests with these little toy drones because you don't have GPS return to home. So the Wi-Fi feed on these drones usually go out, you know, I don't know. It really can depend. 150 feet or so. Sometimes you might get lucky and get one that can do something like 150 meters. But for me, it really does depend, you know, on the drone, but they don't usually go very far. Most of these drones, I'm losing Wi-Fi before I get to the back of the cemetery there. And then at that point, you have to hope you can figure out your orientation by line of sight. And if you don't, and you can't reestablish your FPV feed, you're gonna end up losing the drone. It's gonna drift away and you're gonna lose it. And most importantly, I don't wanna crash into something or have a crash in the cemetery. But no matter where I fly, I don't test it unless it's a GPS drone. Because GPS drone, if it loses its signal, even if you lose FPV feed, you can just press the button to return home. And if the drone loses its signal to the control, it'll return to home and land. So that's a nice thing about the GPS drones, along with the fact that a lot of them, not all of them, have better cameras and stabilized gimbals, but you're paying a premium for those. But if you're interested in a GPS drone, you can get little GPS drones with brush motors that's very similar to this. Sometimes for, you know, well under $100. I've seen them as cheap as $60 to $70, but you have to order that from China to get that price. And then you're waiting a month to get it. And if you have problems, you know, customer service is always an issue. Whereas Amazon, if you have any problems with these Holy Stone or DRC products, you can easily get a replacement, and customer service top notch from Amazon. So that's just, and you get it in 2 days. This is the Amazon Prime, as all the Holy Stone and DRC, and I'm saying those together. If you didn't hear me say a while ago, they are the same company. The Holy Stone is a parent company of DRC. Yeah, I think we tested all the features. This guy's still going. Yeah, we're close to 10 minutes, and as far as I can tell, we've not hit the low voltage. I don't think this drone didn't have 360 flips, from what I remember. And lots of times on these drones with a camera, this design, that's a little less common, because 360 flips are not, they're restrained on the motor and the battery, and they also, you know, when you're filming, it looks kind of goofy. Let me just double check. There wasn't, no. I know I just went over them, but I just want to make sure I didn't miss it. Because it is a common feature, but in a drone of this design, and these foldable ones, it's less likely. You don't see them as often. Again, they strain the motors a bit. It looks goofy if you're trying to film and you're doing flips like that. Not a flip like if you have an acro or a freestyle quad, now that they're cool, but on something like this, the flips look a little goofy. And with the arms, you know, those arms don't lock in place like they sort of do. When you're flipping, you're more likely you could actually throw an arm out of whack, and then I'll set the drone will drift really bad, or probably even crash if the arm gets knocked out of place too much. That's why I always like to, I always prefer the foldable drones that have actually locking arms, because that wouldn't happen on something like that, or you know, hard landing or a small crash. You might pick the drone up, set it on the ground, not notice the arm slightly out of whack, a little out of place, and you take off. And what happens? You know, the drone starts flying erratic because those arms need to be balanced for a reason. And it usually causes the drone to drift really bad. Yeah, it's pretty aggressive in this highest rate. You could go up to the, let's go 2 beeps to the middle rate. That one's still pretty aggressive. but that might be a good rate to film in because you're not as aggressive, so you won't be filming the ground quite as much. Still quite a bit, especially if you had the camera tilted down at all, but when you're flying aggressive like that, it won't dive bomb quite as much. Now there are instances here in the FPV where the video does momentarily freeze. Freeze may not be the best word, it's just sort of the way a lot of these Wi-Fi drones work. It just sort of pauses would be a better way of saying it, because the video feed doesn't actually freeze up. We'll have to see how that looks when you guys are seeing the video here. There may be some slight areas where you see it looks like a bit of a pause. And that may also cause the video to get a bit out of sync. We'll have to see how that works. Lots of times you end up with issues with frame rates and drop frames where the Wi-Fi will literally drop some frames of the video. And then it reestablishes it. What it causes is the video to get out of sync. So if this video here is way off from where I'm flying it on the video you're seeing on board, it's just not uncommon for Wi-Fi drones. Now this is a good long flyer. We're over 13 minutes. You know, it's a pretty decent sized battery, but you never know. I've had some of these drones that you think it's gonna fly a long time and it doesn't. We have no flashing lights. So that's what you'd see if it had a low battery. So we're still going strong, guys. I'm impressed with this drone. As long as this drone has a nice, attractive price, this would be a great little gift for someone just wanting to get a drone and fly it and learn how to fly. All right, guys. So I'm gonna land this now. I gotta go inside and watch my daughter, my youngest one, because the wife's gotta go. So she was standing over there. So we can see we're over 14 minutes in and we need to, we got more flight time, but this is a long flyer. I'm impressed. All right, go ahead and land it and we'll wrap this video up. Let's go ahead and do an auto landing. All right, and what you wanna do is you wanna make sure you stop recording. So long press on that and we stopped. That way you know the video is saved to the gallery on your phone. If you just power the drone off and the app's still recording, you're probably gonna corrupt the video and you'll lose that video. Always gotta do that on these Wi-Fi flyers that don't have a micro SD card in it. All right, guys, that wraps up the review here of the little DRC drone. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. While you're at it, click that bell, that way you're notified every time I do upload a new video. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.
The power of the dark side.